Do you ever listen to an album and feel completely encapsulated in that world? Does an album ever transport you into a whole nother state of mind and universe? Well, I'm here to talk about that today, as a mix of world building, marketing, and concepts can turn an album into an entire experience for a fan base. This is how creating an immersive experience for the listener and solidify an album into a timeless piece of art. Travis Scott's ASTROWORLD. Now, this is the album undoubtedly probably everyone on this video has heard, and has heard a lot, because this was a staple in pop culture. I mean, Travis Scott is one of the best at doing this whole world building things that artists do, and ASTROWORLD is the biggest form of that to this day. I know we got Utopia coming up soon. That's looking like it's going to be crazy too, but I want to get into ASTROWORLD because, like, just from the marketing perspective, here, we look at ASTROWORLD here, you look at the cover art. Okay, you could see the festival theme park theme of the album, and that was something that Travis Scott himself pushed greatly by launching his own Astro Fest for this album. And I mean, just looking at the stage design here, there's literally a roller coaster in the middle of the whole venue, and Travis Scott would bring fans on that and perform. And this album really does transfer you to a place like that, from the sonic to the album, front to back. But like, an album can sound really crazy, and it can kind of transfer you into a world. But what really helps an album really reach that pinnacle is the marketing, is the visuals, it is the music videos, the trailers, the hype you build up. And this album, if I had to put it into a box, I'd say this is a cosmic space album. When I think of ASTROWORLD, I literally think of a world. You know, I think of a world out there in the universe called ASTROWORLD. That's what it makes me feel like. And like I said, Travis Scott is incredible at building these immersive experiences that really make the listener feel like they're part of something bigger, they're a part of a movement, they're not just listening to an album because it's their favorite artist, they're a part of pop culture at the end of the day. And I think Travis Scott is one of the greatest artists to pull this off. And of course, I mean, we could go back to Kanye, and Kanye's had his eras as an artist, but I think Travis Scott brought this to a whole different level. I mean, ASTROWORLD is 5 years old, and he's still feeding off this aesthetic, and it's bleeding into Utopia as well, and helping the rollout for that, just because of when people think of Travis Scott, they think of this crazy, spacey experience, and hey, Travis Scott did that shit. Wake up, filthy. So, Whole Lotta Red, Playboi Carti. Now, this is the other side of this immersive experience, because there was not a lot of official marketing, music videos, stuff like that for Whole Lotta Red. This was almost completely done just off the music itself at first, but we'll get into that. So as Whole Lotta Red is becoming, you know, it's been rumored for years, people are excited for it since Die Lit, and, you know, leaks happen. Of course, leaks happen, and the fan base pretty much built the aesthetic for Whole Lotta Red from the ground up, almost without the help of Carti. I mean, you have all of these fan arts for the different versions of Whole Lotta Red in the leak, and like I said, we did not get pretty much any marketing for the album. I'm about to show you the only marketing we got for this album pre-Whole Lotta Red. Right here, we got some spray paint. We got some spray paint pretty much hyping up the release for Whole Lotta Red on Christmas Day. And that's it. That's all we got, but this is one of those situations where I feel like less is more. This, like, really mysterious, and you know Carti's known for that mysterious, you know, keeping to himself perspective. This, like, really confusing, mysterious rollout really helped Carti. I mean, just seeing the spray paint, a lot of people were calling cap on this when it happened, but then the album dropped, and it just kind of played into that aesthetic a lot more. And of course, you know, Carti was dyeing his hair red for this album. That's like another thing artists can do, is using colors to aid the marketing and the sale and the whole experience of an album. And of course, the album's called Whole Lotta Red, but even, I mean, artists have been doing this forever. I mean, look at Pierre Bourne. When you look at this color, what do you think of? Pierre Bourne. I mean, that's Pierre is another artist who I think has pulled this off really well. But going into Whole Lotta Red more post-release, I mean, people were kind of hating on the album first. You know, I'm not really here to go over the critical reception of these albums, but I want to say that, you know, maybe not everyone got the vampire type aesthetic at first, but let me tell you, once this man Carti embarked on tour, it was a whole different monster. This album was made to be performed, and just listening to this album brings me into that headspace of, like, I'm in a fucking 10,000 cap room with a bunch of sweaty teenagers, and we're just punching each other and kicking each other and pushing each other and screaming the lyrics to this crazy punk rock aesthetic album, and it's amazing. Alright, it's amazing. I mean, if you guys have seen Carti on tour, you know what I'm talking about. You can see on the screen right here the crazy types of stuff that has gone on this tour, from the backup dancers, from the tanks, from the live guitar intros and melodies throughout each song's performance. This was really pushing a punk rock aesthetic, which literally that is how I would theme this album. I put the theme of this pretty much just punk rock aesthetic, and this even bleeds into now where we are today with Opium, the record label, and the black clothes, the mysterious, you know, all that stuff. It plays into that, and a whole lot of Red has carried that aesthetic seamlessly with, honestly, very little marketing. Very little marketing. This is all natural, and I'll always say it, natural marketing is the best marketing. Marketing's good regardless, but natural marketing can go fucking crazy, and this is, in my opinion, the craziest example of this in recent memory that I can think of, because this album is synonymous with, like, it just is, and listening to a whole lot of Red puts me into that whole universe of just losing my fucking mind in a boiler room. The Incredible True Story. Probably Logic's most notorious album, his fan favorite album, if I do say so myself. Now, we know Logic can go crazy. He has some really solid projects that are competing for that top spot, but no other album has had a chokehold on his fan base like The Incredible True Story has. From the cover art spanning out all the way through to the actual premise of the album itself being a concept album about two guys in space. In the future, humanity is at its brink. They're living on Babel Space Station. Earth is gone. Natural resources gone. And, you know, like I said, this is a concept album, so this more explicitly plays into this theme of world building and immersion more than the other albums do. I think Astroworld and Whole Lotta Red kind of feed off that aesthetic from the music and marketing itself. Incredible True Story has some music that'll give you that spacey sound, especially in the samples and the skits. But really, I mean, the marketing, the visuals for this album is what went crazy. And you know, when this album was coming out, Logic was seen wearing this crazy spacesuit tracksuit that he still sells today. These jumpsuits that are made to look like you're an astronaut. Logic was wearing this performing. He even did this on his most recent tour. He put the whole suit on just to perform songs off this album. And the storyline of the album, you know, I could go on, man. We're talking about Thomas and Kai. We're talking about the Ultra 85, which is something we don't even know about yet. That's an album that is not even out. But even going into the fan art, the comics here, I mean, this Ultra 85 cover art, that's super fire. Nah, but this is an experience, and I think it even plays into the fact that this was such a strong concept and story through this album, the fact that Logic's actually writing a novel sequel to this album called Ultra 85, because he didn't want to jam the whole rest of the story into an album. He figured a whole novel would suit it better, and hey, I tend to agree. I mean, even going towards Logic's logo himself, he was seen wearing NASA jackets before the album came out, and even made his own NASA-inspired logo, obviously playing into the space theme. And, you know, if there's any theme for this album, literally, it's just space. To me, it's just space travel. It's not anything too sci-fi. It's almost like a futuristic form of what could happen. And a lot of stuff in here is really realistic. I mean, looking at Thalia with AI that's going around now, and Thalia is the robot who speaks to the two astronauts throughout the album. She can mimic anyone's voice. She knows everything. She's a supercomputer. She could tell you anything about what's going on in the spaceship, in the space around you. And this character has bled into the fan base crazy to this day. I mean, fan art going crazy. People have made theories about its connections to other albums, including Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, even being on the back cover art for Logic's was his retirement album, No Pressure. I mean, this is an album that has literally formed a fan base. I mean, there's a whole sect of this fan base that love this album more than anything Logic has ever done and are dying for the storyline. And I think you guys know how Logic's fan base is. I mean, the more pop culture, like nerdy aesthetic, you know, this feeds into that. You know, people love Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I love The Incredible True Story because I love science fiction, stuff like this. And this bled right into it itself. So this is definitely the most explicit and in-your-face, like almost feeding the aesthetic to you. But let me tell you, damn did it work. Damn did it work. So I think this goes without saying, there are countless albums I could talk about that have done this for the fan base, hip-hop, and even music as a whole, but I wanted to keep it to, honestly, 3 of my favorites that have done this for me, and a lot of my friends and peers who listen to similar music like me. And I wanted to choose some albums that kind of did it differently. You know, Astroworld had the whole marketing thing behind it and the hype. Whole Lotta Red had its, like, sheer impact and influence kind of guide that whole route. An Incredible True Story had a story written explicitly and a concept executed that grasps the fan base like no other album has before for him. So that's about all I got for you guys today. If you guys enjoyed watching, make sure you like, subscribe. I'm doing a little video essay type thing here. I do tier lists, I do reactions, I do reviews, I do live streams, I do everything. I do everything on the Fitz Records channel. So if you want to come support the boy, I'd greatly appreciate that. Subscribe to the bell so you don't miss on videos, anything like that. Go in the description. Follow my TikTok, my Spotify, my Twitter, my Instagram. Get that weekly updated New Music Friday, and join my Discord down there too. And yeah, it's been Bryce. Peace.
Coming with the hot shit, all they do is talk shit. You can never stop it, boy, just stop. High-end drunk, all that HD vision. All these other motherfuckers full of indecision. These are flowing through your city like drug money. Made a meal off rap, fuck drug money.